Oh man, so the past few days we've been making videos about the Calgary Flames. We've been talking about their transition in and out of Darryl Sutter's coaching and how this process has been sort of relieving for a lot of people in the organization. Long story short, the Flames were good last year. The coach was good last year. He was the coach of the year. But this season, after debatably making the team better on paper, the coach could not get the best out of his players. A lot of players struggled, and you had yourselves a very apparent idea that the coach was the problem. He was let go the other day, and we talked about that in a video. We then talked about Jonathan Huberdeau and the comments that he had made talking about how a new coach is going to help him do extraordinarily better, and how he and the former coach Darryl Sutter were not on the same page for a lot of the year. Okay, that's cool. But I didn't really think that there would be enough material to make a third video about this entire thing until Frank Seravalli made himself an appearance on Sportsnet 960. There's going to be an audio hit in the description of Flames Talk with Pat Steinberg, Ryan Pike, Aaron Vickers, and Wes Gilbertson, because they had themselves Frank Seravalli on the show to talk about Darryl Sutter's departure. And long story short, there was a quote from this audio hit that I thought was so impactful that we have to go out there and make yet another video about this entire thing. We're going over onto an article on thescore.com that kind of describes the quote here, and the reason I'm using this article is because it puts the quote in writing and it allows us to screenshot it and put it on the screen. Here is the article. The link is also going to be in the description, but Frank Seravalli said this on the Sportsnet 960 show. In talking to various people around the league that have connections to Calgary, the sentiment was that any trade requests that were out there, or demands, so to speak, have been rescinded now that there's been a coaching change. That, I think, opens the door for some players that might have been hesitating to eventually re-sign. That'll, of course, be the call of whoever's the next GM. Seravalli also said, I believe there was at least a handful of players who had spoken honestly and frankly to Brad Treliving and President of Hockey Operations Don Maloney, who were in the room for the exit interviews to say exactly that. Essentially, it's as simple as, if Darryl Sutter is back, I don't want to play here. And I get it, it's a really small quote, and it's not really something that I think warrants a 10-minute conversation on a video like this one here, but that's a powerful quote. I get it, it's kind of vague. You could say, oh, Seravalli's not going out there and spilling the details again, he's just being vague, but, I mean, at the end of the day, Seravalli's got his sources, he's got a bunch of people telling him things, and if he was too specific, I feel like things would get a little bit out of hand. So just kind of letting the door open a little bit like this, I think that's a pretty okay and appropriate move. But still, the sentiment that we have received from this comment is quite staggering. That if we were to believe everything that's going on here, apparently, multiple Calgary Flames players might have or were possibly in the process of thinking about not coming back or requesting a trade out straight up had Darryl Sutter returned as the coach. Now, the reason I like this article on The Score so much is because there are a few more things written about towards the end that I think are interesting to note as well. It is unknown which players requested trades if Sutter stayed, but veterans like Mikael Backlund and Elias Lindholm, both eligible to sign extensions this summer, were non-committal when asked about re-upping with the Flames at their end-of-season interviews. Other key 2024 free agents on the Flames docket include Tyler Toffoli, Hanifin, Tanev, and Zadorov. And so, just throwing some names out there, these guys would not have had the opportunity to leave the team until 2024 if they wanted to become free agents, but it's unknown if these are the players, or some of them, that would have been interested in getting traded away because of the way Sutter coached this team this year. And obviously the piece is just throwing some names out there, nothing is ever confirmed, but it is kind of alarming to hear that a guy's presence on that bench was so negatively impactful that all of a sudden it's to the point that multiple of your players did not want to play with you next year. Firstly, for Darryl Sutter the guy, I mean, normally, under regular circumstances, I would say, yeah, that's probably super disheartening to hear, imagine how that guy must feel about it, but I don't know, dude, Darryl Sutter seems like the type of guy to not even really care 1 ounce, so I'll save my comments about that for a later date. But if it comes to the Flames fans, though, hey, y'all must be feeling a lot more relieved now, because now you're knowing, hey, wait a minute, it's not just us that feels this way, it's the rest of the team. A lot of these guys would not have wanted to play for Sutter next year. They would have demanded out. They would have not wanted to re-sign. They would have requested trades. At the end of the day, Don Maloney was faced with a decision here. Do you keep Darryl Sutter around, or do you keep the overall body of player support that you have on this roster? Because it was one or the other, and Maloney chose the players. Still, though, this kind of makes me even more intrigued as to Brad Treliving walking out, because as we did say a few videos ago about Treliving, I was kind of expecting Sutter to stick around because of the way that Treliving decided to leave. In my viewing, it kind of looked like the Flames chose Sutter over Treliving. That, hey, if Treliving was so aware that Sutter was the problem, then wouldn't it make sense for Treliving to have walked away and departed mutually with the Flames if he knew that Sutter was going to stick around? I mean, if there was a chance that Sutter would not be there, would Treliving have made a bigger pitch to stay instead? I know when he left, they said it was a mutual departing of the ways, so it's kind of like, okay, the Flames also wanted to move away from Treliving and his services, but as we had been saying the entire time, especially spanning back to last season, the Flames looked better on paper at the start of 22-23 than they did at 21-22, so it is kind of intriguing to see how the chain of events kind of goes here, but at the end of the day, this word from Seravalli is powerful. Apparently a lot of the players were not all too keen on sticking around if Sutter was sticking around too. Now when it comes to these guys, Lindholm, Backlund, we're kind of expecting a little bit more next season. Like, hopefully Jonathan Huberdeau actually does become that playmaker that you wanted him to be. I mean, the guy had however many assists that he had last year. I'm gonna look the number up right now, but I'm going to take a bet. I think that Jonathan Huberdeau, he had more assists last year than he had points this year. Is that true? Last year, he had 85 assists. There you go. Yeah, I nailed it. 85 assists last year to 55 points this year. You really want to see this guy go back to form, and if he's setting up a player like Elias Lindholm, that probably is going to look really well. We're not even talking about Nazem Kadri here either, and he's had a lot of comments as well, going over his fair share of opinions about the coaching staff. But either way, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about the Calgary Flames, how Darryl Sutter and the entire fiasco circus that he ran here was so unappealing to the organizational makeup of the players on the team that a good chunk of them would not want to have come back. But now that Sutter is gone, apparently those are rescinded. It's like, okay, now that Sutter is gone, I'm fine. I am okay to being sticking around here and doing my thing for Calgary next year. Give me Mitch Love, baby. Give me love. Give me love. Oh, swing around front. Let me inside. Playing my song into my sides. Yeah, whatever it is. But either way, thoughts in the comment section below about the Flames. I hope you enjoyed this Juraj 9. And bye.